In the gleaming showroom of a luxury car dealership, all eyes turned as a tall, neatly dressed black man stepped inside. His quiet confidence contrasted sharply with the manager's immediate scowl. Without so much as a greeting, the manager waved him off, loudly telling him to leave, claiming they didn't entertain window shoppers. The man's expression remained unreadable as whispers rippled through the sales staff. No one knew that the supposed window shopper wasn't there to buy a car at all. He had come to check on the business he had just purchased. The shock that awaited them would shake the entire dealership to its core. The dealership was renowned throughout town as the premier destination for high-end cars, boasting polished floors, bright glass walls, and salespeople trained to cater to the needs of affluent customers. Yet behind its glamorous facade lingered a culture of quiet discrimination. Certain staff members made assumptions about customers based on their appearance, often reserving their best service for those they believed fit the profile. A few weeks earlier, Marcus Thompson, a successful entrepreneur who had built a thriving logistics company, decided to diversify his investments. Having grown up in the very neighborhood where this dealership stood, he remembered the times he had been treated as though he didn't belong in such places. Buying the dealership was not just a business move, it was personal. Marcus believed he could turn it into a space where all customers were treated with dignity. On the morning he decided to make his unannounced visit, Marcus dressed, dark jeans, a pressed shirt, and a clean jacket. There was no entourage, no flashy display of wealth. He wanted to see firsthand how customers were treated when the staff didn't know who they were serving. Inside, the manager, Richard Collins, took pride in protecting the brand image. To him, wealth had a specific look: designer suits, luxury watches, and familiar faces. When Marcus entered, Richard barely hid his irritation. His mind quickly filled with assumptions. Someone looking to loiter, perhaps test drive a car he couldn't afford. What Richard didn't know was that the papers finalizing Marcus's purchase had been signed just the day before. As Marcus calmly strolled between the rows of gleaming vehicles, his every step was watched, not with curiosity, but with suspicion. Richard approached Marcus with the kind of forced smile that masked disdain. From the moment he introduced himself, his tone carried an edge. This polite but dismissive manner said, "You don't belong here." He offered little information about the cars, making quick, curt replies, and seemed more concerned with Marcus's presence than with any potential sale. When Marcus stopped to admire a limited edition sports car, Richard chuckled and muttered something under his breath about dreamers. The remark wasn't lost on a few salespeople nearby, who exchanged awkward glances but said nothing. A young receptionist at the front desk, who had noticed Marcus enter, felt uneasy watching the interaction unfold. Marcus kept his composure. He wasn't there to confront anyone, not yet. He asked a few questions about the car's performance, which Richard answered impatiently, then quickly shifted to asking Marcus whether he had an appointment or a credit pre-approval. The suggestion was clear. Marcus didn't seem like a serious buyer. The tension escalated when another customer, dressed in a tailored suit, entered the showroom. Richard immediately shifted his focus, greeting the new arrival warmly, and leaving Marcus standing there as though he were an inconvenience. A subtle but unmistakable line had been drawn. One customer was seen as worthy of attention, the other dismissed. As the minutes passed, Richard's irritation grew. He saw Marcus walking near the manager's office and decided he had lingered long enough. With a sharp tone and a loud enough voice for others to hear, he told Marcus, "If you're not here to buy, you should leave. We don't have time for browsers." The words hung in the air, heavy and uncomfortable. A few staff members shifted uneasily, knowing the tone was wrong but too intimidated to speak up. The receptionist's eyes widened. She had a sense this situation was about to take a turn none of them expected. Marcus, still calm, didn't argue. He looked around the showroom as if making mental notes, then gave a faint, almost imperceptible smile before heading for the door. The staff watched him go, unaware that this was not the end of the encounter but merely the beginning. The following afternoon, The dealership's employees gathered for what they believed would be a routine staff meeting called by the corporate office. Richard stood at the front, ready to boast about sales targets and new vehicle arrivals. The mood was business as usual, until the regional representative announced that the dealership had a new owner who would be addressing them personally. The doors opened, and in walked Marcus. The room fell silent. Recognition flickered across Richard's face, his confident posture faltering. The staff exchanged bewildered glances. The man they had dismissed as an unworthy customer now stood at the head of the business. Marcus didn't raise his voice. He spoke steadily, his words carrying the weight of experience. He described what it felt like to walk into a place of business and be treated as if he didn't belong. He discussed how success and dignity shouldn't depend on how someone looks or dresses. His presence alone challenged the assumptions that had fueled the discrimination he encountered the day before. As Marcus's words sank in, Richard's usual bravado crumbled. For the first time, he saw himself reflected in the uncomfortable expressions of his staff. The power dynamic had shifted completely. The man he had told to leave was now the one deciding his future at the dealership. The meeting ended with an announcement. There would be changes, not just in management, but in culture. Every employee would be retrained in how to treat customers with respect, and there would be zero tolerance for any form of discrimination. In the weeks that followed, the dealership underwent a transformation. The glossy cars and polished floors remained, but the atmosphere shifted. Customers of all backgrounds began to notice the difference. They were welcomed with genuine courtesy, no longer judged by appearance. Marcus introduced new policies that rewarded empathy and customer care as much as sales numbers. Richard was given the choice to undergo extensive retraining or step aside. He chose to leave, his pride unable to adjust to a workplace that now valued the very principles he had ignored. In his absence, a new manager, someone who understood the importance of inclusion and respect, helped lead the cultural shift. For Marcus, the purchase of the dealership became more than a business venture. It was a statement. Success could challenge prejudice, and leadership could change entrenched behaviors. He often reflected that the true victory wasn't owning the dealership, but seeing how the transformation affected the staff and customers alike. The story of Marcus's visit spread beyond the dealership. It became a local example of why humility and fairness matter in business. Many who heard it were reminded of times they had been underestimated or mistreated, and found hope in seeing how one person's resolve could turn an ugly incident into lasting change. As the story closes, it leaves us with a powerful question. How often do we judge people by what we think we see? And how many opportunities for fairness, respect, and even progress do we lose because of it?